shoot those numbers. So I made it at $12 a gram, which is 40% less than what the national average is in the dispensary and on the street. So, flow share of that net profit would be $12 million per greenhouse in this proposal. That's pretty good if you compare it to gaming in terms of the return on investment and the amount of money that it takes to actually run a facility. And that's why we were pretty clear that, you know, it would be net profit after all the expenses are paid and all of that. It's very profitable and competes with gaming really well. It outperforms gaming. So the tribal recreational, and we've also turned it into a medical ordinance. Just like the state of South Dakota did, they created a recreational and medical law at the same time. The reason that is because recreational tends to be more expensive because you have tourists and they got to pay a premium to just freely buy it anywhere in the state. But they kept the medical program because you can't charge medical patients, most of whom are low income. So you keep that savings and you keep them a medical patient so they benefit from cannabis in the state and they don't have to end up paying the outrageous prices, you know, for medical marijuana, which their insurance doesn't reimburse them for, which, you know, I know there's in the federal bill right now that's in the Senate on Schumer's desk. It allows insurance companies to reimburse for medical marijuana. So there's a lot that can change this year with federal legalization, and which would only give us a stronger foothold in this business. So my lawyers already drafted this ordinance for the tribe, recreational and medical. Yesterday I promised to provide that to the chairman here, and I'll do that, you know, shortly. So it's basically like amalgamation of all the other ordinances that have been created by tribes that have worked with each state, and just hits all those issues that tribes have to worry about and when regulating cannabis. So my lawyer is very experienced working with tribes. He represented one of the richest tribes in the country in all their investments, and he's also a partner in a tribal 8A business that sells PPE to the government. So very schooled in Indian law, cannabis law, and native business and 8A programs. So he's willing to work with the tribal lawyers immediately, directly, and any kind of issues they would have. And it's just a little sample. You'll see I could distribute this. It's the beginnings of the System-Wapton Recreational Marijuana Ordinance, which lays out the rules and regulations and how the tribe would potentially regulate this business on their land. I've supplied a term sheet which kind of goes over our proposal. And the reason we use a term sheet, not an immediate contract for review, is so both parties can agree on the terms of the deal before we actually put the lawyers to work on creating a contract. So the contract doesn't surprise everybody once it gets out there. You always negotiate a contract through the use of a term sheet before you even engage your lawyer to make that deal. So I've provided a term sheet which says the basic points of what we want, and then I would like to start a negotiation with the tribes of the basic points what they want and work towards a contract. And that's basically how these deals are done in all over the country. So some of our terms would be, you know, the split and all that, and some of the terms the tribe might bring to the table is guaranteed tribal employment, the split, any tax. If there's environmental factors that you guys want followed, like wastewater treatment, you know, organic certification, green buildings, any kind of concerns the tribe would have that they want in the contract, they could put in that term sheet so both of the parties are agreed and know what we're working towards, and then we could go to a contract and negotiate that and get those terms in the contract. So we like to do business with the term sheet first. And that's basically what that says. On the second one there, we have a good understanding, a great understanding of the legal system in cannabis. During the Trump administration, he took away the Wilkinson memo. And he basically said it's up to each U.S. attorney in each state whether or not Native American tribes can grow cannabis. Now, in 4 states, they have already. The U.S. attorney of California, Nevada, Washington, Oregon, and now the 5th state is going to be Arizona. The Navajo Nation is currently negotiating a deal with the governor of Arizona because Arizona this year went fully recreational cannabis. So Navajo is getting into that business as well, and they're going to have a compact with the state. So that's kind of how it's done. But being that during the Trump administration, they never once enforced or went after a state licensed grow or dispensary. That was different than Obama. Obama actually enforced on state licensed facilities, even while they had the Cole Memorandum. So being that now the Biden's in there and the Democrats are in charge, I think they'll take even a more liberal approach than Trump, which would be to either federal legalization or allow the current rule to stand. And that current rule is the U.S. attorney for each state makes that determination. Now, the Republican U.S. attorney just resigned for South Dakota, and Biden is yet to appoint a U.S. attorney for South Dakota, but their office can address the same issue. So, and just so you know, the U.S. attorney out in California, the Fed's opinion of cannabis doesn't change whether it's on state land or tribal, because it's still federally illegal on state land. So, and they have federal facilities on state land and whatnot. So it's basically a judgment call, but we haven't seen in any situation where the state U.S. attorney has said, no, crime is too bad on the reservation, you can't do it, but we're going to allow the state to do it. That's never happened. Las Vegas and Nevada went recreational. Now the largest dispensary in the country is owned by the Las Vegas Paiute tribe. And they're doing, I believe, $1 million a month, just selling at retail without the growing. They're only buying cannabis from other people. So in closing, thank you for the opportunity for making this proposal. My email's there if anybody has any questions. But, I wanted to be clear that, this is just the beginning. We're not saying we're going to take over and do all of this. What we're proposing is to kickstart this industry, create the retail outlets, and if tribal members want to take part, they could be growers, and they could sell the product through the same system that we created, or we could buy and resell it. But we're 100% committed to a tribal member growers co-op, and that's how you supply when we can't meet demand, because it takes us at least 6 months to build a greenhouse. But smaller, they call them micro growers in California. So they allow individuals in California to do up to 3,000 square foot grows in their homes, in their backyards, and allow them to sell directly to the licensed dispensaries in the state. So it's called a micro business. That's what we would propose here too, is that we could provide the tribal member with technical assistance, maybe even like small business loans and things like that to get the tribal members growing. Which would only help us because, like I said, we're going to run out of product probably 3 days into it. And we don't want to create so much product where nobody else has opportunity. We just want to help kickstart this here. And so, we're doing it at Meskwaki too, and other tribes. So, but this one, since I'm here, and it's such a great opportunity, and honestly, no other tribe, what we're seeing in Minnesota is the big gaming tribes don't want to touch it. Mystic Lake, they don't want to touch it. Prairie Island, Lower Sioux, Upper Sioux, they don't want to touch it, but they want dispensaries. So they don't want to get into the growing, but they know, like Las Vegas has done, has embraced cannabis. And they've made it part of their whole gaming experience, part of their hotel experience, and it's brought in a whole different generation. The main people that use recreational cannabis are between 21 and 51 years old. And that's kind of the demographic we want to increase at our gaming facilities, to get that. And those people like camping, they like hunting and fishing, they like active things that we could start providing them as well if we do this. So, thank you. I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
Can you kind of, what if we did a grow facility at Tribe headquarters, but the dispensaries are at the casinos? That agreement we would have with the state would allow us to transport cannabis to and from the dispensaries, correct?
Yeah, because the medical marijuana program is legal in the state, so they're allowing medical marijuana through their ordinance and their law, and we would have the same thing, an ordinance, a law that mirrors that. So they have to worry about the same thing when they go into tribal land. So that's what our conversations with the state have been. It goes both ways. You know, if we buy product from the guys in St. Paul, they're gonna have to bring it to the reservation and deal with those issues. Or if we have tribal members that leave, go on the state land, they're gonna have to deal with that issue. So what we did is look for reciprocity from the state of Minnesota. So we could say, look, we'll recognize your members that come to our facility, we'll recognize their card, and you recognize ours. And every state does this. Arizona recognizes Nevada and California and so on, you know. It's called reciprocity. And if they deal in good faith, then we would, that would be great for everybody. And we think that's pretty much how it will go. They don't really care about the tribe if it's legal on their land. And it is. July 1st, it will be legal. That's very clear right now on their land. And so if you're worried about the tribal member when they leave tribal land, that addresses that. And there has never been a tribe in that situation. The U.S. attorney has always said, well, we'll only allow a tribe to do it once the state has a law to get away from that situation. So.
One of the comments that I hear often is the elders will be police.
Well,
have you faced that, like in California or
we do community meetings, community input, just like before, you know, going to every district, you know, you do community education like they did with the hemp project, and you let everybody have input like any project, you know, like we did yesterday on these other projects. But what I would say is, you know, there's always, it's kind of like global warming, you know. The science is all there, but there's still some people that don't believe it. That's how medical marijuana is. The science is all there, but there's some people that just are stubborn and don't believe it. And you can't, worrying about their few opinions when we're trying to address the health matters of an entire 18,000 people, you know, so the situations we've been in, it's only been a few people, and that's their choice. Just like they choose not to gamble, they choose not to buy a pack of cigarettes, they choose not to buy alcohol, they can choose not to take part in cannabis as well. So
you said the tribe issues medical cards. Is that on the health side, or is that on the tribal side issuing that card that the state recognizes also at the dispensary?
yeah, that would be a process that's set up by the Cannabis Commission that they follow and regulate. So we wouldn't have nothing to do with those patients, but we would help create the system. And how we're doing it in White Earth is you can do it from your home and your laptop. You log into this company that does telemedicine, you pay your $69 and you're talking to a doctor right there. You send him whatever medical information and then he emails you the license and we would recognize that. So, and what we're doing in Minnesota for the elders that don't have laptops and email and all that, we set up a little office in the Shopco building they bought so that with the laptop, and then they can come in there and get assistance with that, getting their recommendation, medical recommendation. So.
Do you have their email address?
Yeah, there's actually 3 companies, so there's a. So there.
Have you had any issue with BIA because it's still federally illegal? I mean, anytime we do something on trust land, the big.
Well, the BIA doesn't have any enforcement. There's no enforcement behind BIA. They defer to the U.S. Attorney, which is the federal authority over South Dakota.
That agreement in place with police authority that they're just not convictions.
Yeah, Yep. They might get involved in the leases, but if the tribe owns it, not so much. So, and that's kind of why we do the modular. So there isn't too much of a lease, no improvements that we can get in arguments about and all that, you know. Yeah.
What do other tribes do as far as self-regulating regime on their THC levels on their tests for employees?
Well, anytime a tribe does a ordinance, they would have to change their policies to not test for THC. You can't have something legal under the tribal ordinance and then be making it illegal for your employees. Most large tribes in the United States have taken that away. Cherokee Nation, even the government has taken that away in most cases. What we did in White Earth was we created a status called the green jobs, and those are people that have signed a waiver and said if they make a mistake or there's an accident, then you could drug test them. But they're basically saying, I use cannabis, but I'm still gonna work, I'm not gonna do it at work and all that, just like any other drug. But they label them as green jobs. And that's how every business works, honestly, now. If you crash a car and run into somebody, they're gonna drug test you and alcohol test you. Same thing. You know, shouldn't be a requirement. It's not a requirement to get your driver's license. You know, but that might happen. You might use that and drive. So what I do know is that, because I've experienced it myself, is that I believe that that policy holds back tribal members. It's discriminatory because most of the people that use cannabis use it for a medical reason. Even younger people that have anxiety, ADHD, PTSD issues. They may seem like they're out partying and having fun smoking weed, but they're actually self-medicating. And they're making choices of cannabis over alcohol or meth. Already they've made that choice, you know. And this ordinance would protect them as well, and anybody who's making that choice to be illegal right now. We have a lot of tribal members that are at risk legally, and we're gonna lose them to the law enforcement system and the judicial system, you know. Hopefully that ends with the state law, but if we don't mirror the state law, then they're gonna be at risk on our own land. So we have to pretty much do this to protect our people legally, even. So, Crystal.
So I'm listening to, looking at that plan up there, is there, number one, do you have like a timeline that you're working with, that you and your team want to work with? Because right now, my question is, how are we gonna prepare communities? How are we gonna paint this big picture for them? And like you said, some can use it and some won't. I can see the financial benefits, you know, economic development for our tribe. But also, for a lot of our elders in the community and maybe even some younger people, marijuana might not be such a good idea because it's going to change, but we're changing anyway with it being legal all around us.
Yeah, it's going to be
so
anyways.
it's changing. But I'm just thinking of a way that we can roll that out to the community and just kind of get them thinking about it a little bit and getting some answers, questions answered. One of the things I'm concerned about is the laws. Like you had your lawyer already do up all the laws right for it. But right now our judicial is not in a good way. Right now our laws and our codes are not in a good way. Many of them, even considering the law enforcement and these different codes, they all need to be updated. So bringing in this new project is going to entail a lot, that whole big picture of who we are as Assistant Lofton Oyate. How does that, it's going to fit into there, but yet we have all these other missing pieces right now that I think, it's a project that it's going to take everybody to come together, and we're going to have to do a lot of updating, we're going to have to do a lot of getting people to buy in, the majority anyway, and then be prepared. The casino will policies. The schools, you know, the teacher, can she smoke a joint before she goes to work in the morning? I mean, you know, just all the, there's a lot of things to consider. Whether it's recreational or for the medicine, you know, for people who are sick. So I just got these points in my mind right now. Getting some of these in place, because a lot of, before we jump into this big thing, so I'm just thinking like, what is your team and your timeline? What do you think it is for our outfit? Like, do you have a timeline?
No, I mean, we grow in a greenhouse, we grow year round. So we're not, our timeline isn't attached to the spring or time of year,
Okay,
you know. So, and to address those concerns, they're gonna deal with it anyway. July 1st, there's gonna be several locations where tribal members can go and purchase cannabis, whether they like it or not. Those issues,
For the council, we can ask, are we preparing as this is being written? Are we preparing?
let's hear from council.
So one of the, and I'm not speaking for my fellow councilmen, but in the discussions that we've had, especially with we've had a lot of discussions about this. So the first thing, now I'm a drug and alcohol counselor. I'm certified, so I have the education and the experience with substance use. The first thing with that is that that I know through my education is that availability does not affect substance use, right? So probably how many, like, just right over there is a bar. We're not all sitting here drunk, right? You can buy methamphetamine, you can buy heroin, you can buy any substance that you want in our community, but I would probably venture, looking around this room, that nobody has been using methamphetamine today. So availability and availability does not affect use. What happens, especially with marijuana, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but what I know about cannabis and cannabis use disorders, what happens is that people are already using, but because there's not a social acceptance, they do it behind closed doors. And so when that social acceptance comes with laws, with not being tested at the workplace, when those things, when it's socially accepted and it's not illegal, people are more open about it. So they're already using. It's not that they're, it's not like everybody's going to be, using marijuana, and because we pass a law and we decriminalize it, what happens is that people just get more comfortable being open about that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that when this law, the other thing I do know is that, and you might have data on this, Richard, one thing I do know is that marijuana, because you have people that are trying to make money off of it as a business, I mean, this is their business, this is their livelihood, selling drugs to people, like on the black market, or like drug dealers. It's a business for them. That's how they survive. And so by lacing it with fentanyl, with different opioid products, with different things, even methamphetamines, they lace it with different substances to cause a greater addiction. And so with this product, kind of how I wrapped my head around it is that, okay, we're going to be selling, if we do this, we will be selling a clean product to our people that's not laced with something that we will know the amount of THC that's in it, that it will be offered specifically for, and Richard has talked about, and this is stuff I didn't know, but one of the things Richard talked about is that you can have different levels of THC in certain products for different ailments. So like anxiety might be, a certain level, so some of those things. So those are some of the discussions that we've had. And I think not only is this going to be an economic thing for us, but we have so many people in our community that have mental health conditions. anxiety is really, really prevalent. And it's a genetic component. And if you look up epigenetics, it's a part of that genetic piece of what makes us who we are. So that anxiety back when our people were, when they declared war on our people, that anxiety had a place, and it had an ADHD. Those things all had a place, and it helped survival. But today, in the world and society that we live in, it doesn't. It torments us. And so one of the things that happens is that, you know, like Richard was talking about, people do medicate. They are looking to just feel better and feel normal. And so if we can offer that, and I like the CBD more as a counselor, I just do, but I think those are also options. These two things are going to be together. So with the code, we did back in January, we did a work order to our in-house legal to develop a code. Now, it was said that we should use Flandreau's code, but that's a recreational code. We don't really want to go that route right now. We want to look at the medical part. And we as a tribe would decide how those medical cards are issued. Is it something that you need from IHS? Most of our people have IHS. Well, IHS is a facet of the federal government, so is that even going to be possible? You know, then would it be only open to people who have private insurance or people who have access to medical providers in Minnesota or North Dakota? So we have to decide that. We as a tribe can say, okay, you have an anxiety diagnosis, and we have a doctor on staff here that's going to say, yeah, I think you need medical. So we'll make those decisions, you know, and having community input is really good, but I think we also need to have community education on it. Because I will tell you, 1 year ago, I would have fought my butt off to stop this until I started doing research until I started doing research and really looked at the data. And the data says that people are already doing this, they're just hiding it. We can offer a clean product. And that's why in Minnesota they legalized, you know, I think a couple years ago, 4 years ago. So because people were already doing it, they just wanted to be able to regulate it. So this can also, we were talking about treatment centers, this could also be a part of that because there is such a thing as cannabis. Yeah. Yes. So there is such a thing as cannabis use disorder. There is. It's a substance, so it, you know, just like any other substance or process addiction, you know, there can be an addiction. We can get addicted to shopping, you know. I mean, so this would give us the ability to kind of provide treatment when it gets to be too much. You know, provide treatment when people are not being able to take care of their kids and not go to work, and you know, so. But we are looking at that, and we do. It's just hard right now because we don't have. I mean, we're not having district meetings, you know, and you know, for community forum and stuff it's really hard right now. So that is one of the considerations. So thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. Another to answer your question, Crystal, is I've been through the tribal process.
Sure.
I met with RPC, you know, procurement. I respect the boards and commissions of the tribe, and to follow that process, I'm totally committed to that, just like I did with the solar project. You know, I see a lot of people actually forgetting about that process right now. But I'm committed to following that process. I've already met with the RPC and got buy-in from them. I like to meet with the council. I'm willing to go to every district. I'm willing to meet with DCA. I'm willing to follow the process that the tribe has laid out for years that should be followed. And that's how you get the community input, and the people have the opportunity to come and make their case for or against. And that should happen with every project on the reservation. And I'm committed to following that process. So.
One more thing.
Oh, me? Yeah, I wanted to answer Crystal's comment too. And we've been looking at this at the casino level too. We were looking at this all the way around. We did start that last year, and we had, you know, the upper management start looking at this so we can stay current or even ahead of them when this comes down on July 1. And we're also wanting to look at it at the tribal level because there are things that are going to change as far as your THC goes. And we want to make sure we're doing it and staying within the regulations that will come down through the state as soon as it becomes legal. So to answer your question, we are looking at that, and we've been, and we have legal looking at it from, all the way around federally, especially at the tribe, because the unknown is that if we're receiving federal money, is that going to affect anything? Those are big questions we need to have answered. Grants, are they going to affect grants? Because, if we start putting this in our handbook, then is it going to affect that? So those are the questions we had too. So we are looking at that part of it. So thank you for that, though.
And it's important to remember there's 17 tribes already doing this, that grants haven't been affected, IHS hasn't been affected. Dealing with the U.S. attorney is the feds.
Yeah.
And the U.S. attorney has already allowed, when South Dakota voted for it, he didn't come out and say, well, it's federally illegal. So the general belief with the feds is that state law applies. State laws first, state rights. The federal law supersedes that, of course. So at any time, they could have went into Colorado. They could have went into Denver. They could go into LA and enforce. Federal authorities have enforced on licensed facilities. So, and also, this is an economic opportunity. Even if the tribe said, we don't want to do it, and we don't want our members smoking it, why not still sell it recreationally to non-tribal members that come and will visit our businesses?
Yeah. And I don't, I see that economically, the advantage of it, but I'm just thinking like, I've seen, working in planning, I've seen a lot of programs are good. For instance, your solar. We invested a lot of money on that program, on your solar. We were excited. We were happy. We were going to get LED lighting for the whole tribal building, which was going to save us cost on our electricity bill. We were thinking in that direction a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And then what happens is you got new people coming in every 2 years. So once a new chairman or council comes in, whatever you had on the table then is boom, wiped off, because this new guy or girl has their own ideas. So in order to protect our plans like this that we might want to invest in for the tribe, keeping up with the times, we have to think about a strategic plan. For council, I really would like to see a 5 or 10 year strategic plan for the whole Oyate that is there and it's in place by resolution. And no matter who you are, you come in 2 years later, you still follow that strategic plan. Marijuana, hemp, solar, it's all on there. You can't sway away. We gotta keep steady. We gotta stay the course with these projects that we have already started to develop. Until these are done, we won't take any more. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like when I hear a new plan or any new plan, I get a little happy and then I get a little sad because it's like, okay, we're happy, but we got to stay the course. How are we going to keep this sustainable? And I think that goes with a lot of things in our community. But these are just some questions, and I want people to start thinking about them, even our council, because people are going to start asking questions. We're on live video right now. Some are excited. Some are probably home mad as hell saying, what the heck are these people talking about? Some are saying, yay, finally. So we, as change makers, as we start to do these things, we have to keep an open mind. And again, we have to just look at both sides of every issue and just, just kind of keep that open mind and have the education or information to answer questions. That's all I'm looking for. So thank you.
And, those tribal issues, these are the things that bring change and force you to adjust. Just like Christy Noma's experiencing now. She want to fight against it, but you can't stop it. It's 44 states. The people that voted for it. If this is, each district council person goes back, or RPC goes back to their district and their people want it, then the people are gonna vote for it, even if maybe one leader doesn't want to. They're still gonna have to follow what the people want. That's what Kristi Noem is going through right now, and she's realizing. So, for me, you know, allowing cannabis and not testing with the tribe is addressing a lot of issues, a lot, you know. I understand older people don't have a lot of experience in it, but the rest of the whole world is moving that way. And there's a lot of things they got to get used to, like email and internet and social media, like what we all had to get used to. You know, so it's just change. And you know what? If we don't do it, there's going to be one in Peaver, there's going to be one in Siston, there's going to be one in Wabe. We're going to have to deal with it anyways. You know, and then now you're going to have employees coming and saying, well, it's legal in the state, but you're testing me here at the casino. So it goes both ways, all these issues and legislative issues and governmental issues that have to be addressed. And that's what every government and state government has gone through with this. And the only reason they do that and they put so much effort into it is because we got people dying of overdoses. We got people killing their liver and everything with Tylenol 500s and 800s. We got people with diabetes where their medication is killing them. And the science says marijuana is healthy and can alleviate a lot of those things that are taking a huge toll on our people right now. And also sending them to jail, our youth, who can't work at the casino, who can't get jobs, and are at risk legally. And there's a lot more younger people in that situation than there are, I hate to say it, than elders that have an opinion about it. We could change a lot of lives. I know a lot of young people and their families deserve a chance to work and deserve a chance to support their children. You know, and this is one industry that we can do here that would allow that. Just another industry.
One other thing is, you know, we talk about like, well, cannabis, for example. So I see they sell it, or not cannabis, but they sell it right at in here in the gift shop. CBD. We sell it at our grocery store. People are using it because it, you know, it helps their pain, manage their pain. Not knowing, because some of it is unregulated. Some of it has more THC in it, and then they go to work and they get tested,
Yeah.
and they test positive, and they're out of a job. So that's not, you know what I mean? That we have to have laws. We have to get updated on this, because if we're really thinking that pain management with CBD oil, then we have to really, before it's being sold on our reservation, and yet here we're firing people for using it.
Well,
you know, because we don't, some of it is unregulated.
Well, it actually is regulated. We could have chose a vendor that offers THC-free CBD. And there's only 2 companies in the United States that do that right now. The CBD we purchased doesn't have a THC-free guarantee. Now, if they would have made that decision and asked somebody who knew, I would have been telling them, get your CBD from Casmira in Colorado, because they have a federal patent on making THC-free tinctures and medicines. So there you go. We create a problem by not knowing, but still the CBD is helping people. So if somebody would have asked me, that would have been my main point, to get away from that. Because not only that, if you consider they're shipping that through the Postal Service, and it's on the controlled substance list. So that's another issue that goes in with hemp still having a little THC in it. So those are things that we can address in this ordinance that say, hey, if you test positive, you know, tell us what happened, you know? And if it's by non-fault of your own, because of what somebody decided to offer in the store, you know, that should be considered, definitely. Definitely. But there is THC-free CBD. There is a federal patent on it, and the company is called Casmira in Colorado Springs. And that is where we should be getting our product. That's where I send my hemp to be processed, because I don't want to deal with the THC at all. Nobody should, until you have an ordinance and a law that makes it legal. So, you're right about that, definitely. And that's it?
Well, I was watching Carolina News. I don't know if anyone saw 10 o'clock news last night in Carolina. They were talking about on Kellerland last night. They were talking about at the 10 o'clock news that yes, medical will be legal
Yeah.
July 1st, or yeah, July 1st. But it's not going to be distributed. Did you see that, or what were they meaning by that?
So the law is in place, which gives the right of the tribe to civilly regulate. We don't have to be on the same timeline as the state. To the feds and to all the authorities, as long as that state law is in place, we don't have to follow the state's timeline at all. You know, although our timeline is going to happen after the state. I know right now Ogalla and Flandreau are growing already. We wouldn't even attempt that for at least 4 or 5 months till we know this is all played out and worked out. Because we're not crazy, you don't want to go to jail. You know, so we're being more conservative. We would definitely be more conservative than any other tribe that's going to jump into it right now before any of this other stuff has been worked out, you know. Yep.
Any other questions for Mr. Tallbear? Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's the same.
I'm gonna close her up.
Crystal wanted to mention that she said this presentation gave her the munchies.
Well, I thought I had 2 presenters this morning. Mr. Travis Renville is not able to make it today, but he will be at our next planning session. Oh. Say Crystal. Chairman wants to go to the next. Yep, sounds great. Crystal's handing out the brainstorming wish list. Chairman Hopkins wants us at our next group session up at Dakota Magic to go over this list and to prioritize it. So please, RPC, DCA, council, really take a good look at the list and help us prioritize. And anyone that has a stake in this, even tribal members. If you as a tribal member that's watching on YouTube, feel free to contact me at my office in planning, and I'll be more than happy to share this list with you. In closing, does anyone have any remarks? Otherwise, I'm going to hand the mic over to, surprisingly, Jesse Larson for a closing prayer. Done.
Closing prayer, what's going on? I'm gonna talk you up here. I guess except for maybe Susan and Janelle, but I'm one of the older ones here. I guess I'm the oldest with Shasta here. So it's an honor for you to ask me that. First of all, I want to invite Richard to Old Agency on Monday at 6 o'clock, if you can make it. A little shorter presentation. So Nina Wopida, I'm really glad this is happening. This hasn't happened since Robert Shepard was the chairman. He hasn't, no chairman that has this. So I'm really glad that we're doing this. This probably should be a monthly thing. I know it's a good thing when the Renville boys show up. You know there's money. Money and little money. So when outside people and Richard, when they come back, they're out there surviving in the white man's world. And we need that on our reservation, that outside influence. I really wish the council would consider bringing McCabe in to help us with this American Relief Act. But that's my opinion. And when you give me a mic, you're going to get my opinion. But Nina Wopida, you could tell Crystal and I are related because we don't have no trouble saying what we're thinking. So, I bet you that Nina Wopida tanka tagashana. Wana cheki yugaga he. Owaswa hido tagashda wachashtas kawia hedo. Dako he ichuni do daya okia wo. Unshida do tagashana sisita wan wakbeta wan oyate. Dako was ichuni do tagashana okia wo. Unshida oyate hedo tagashana. Owas had no waza do tagashana. Ake owas wana kianda uexia he. Nina wopi da tagashana. Mazaska he wana udo okia ore oyate he do tagashana. Nina unshida do tagashana. Okanas ake kushis owas. Akes wachiampi tagashana. Tagojas owas tagashana wayanka he do. I bet you they had tagashana washte he do dako owas ominichi yuha. Ake achuni do tagashana. Ake I bet you they tagashana dako owas achuni. Nia do tagashana. UX he. How matakwas.